Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and press the bell icon so that the next time the episode comes up, you get a notification. We are very different and we're both men, but his idea of being a man is this.
तू मर्द है, मर्द बन के रह यार.
ये लाइनें मैंने सुनी है कि क्या लड़कियों की तरह रोता है.
So what? So it's kind of like a slap to the society.
What about, the hair down there?
अरे यार आइडिया ऑफ ब्यूटी जो सोसाइटी ने दिया हुआ है ना कि यू शुड लुक लाइक दिस.
Hello everyone, this is Ankush and you have tuned into yet another episode of The Gentleman Show by The Man Company, जहाँ पे हम वो हर एस्पेक्ट डिस्कस करते हैं जो हमारी लाइफ से जुड़ा होता है, जिसके बारे में हम बहुत सोचते हैं लेकिन बात नहीं करते. यू नो द ड्रिल. और आज हम बात करने वाले हैं एक्सेप्टेंस की. एक्सेप्टेंस ऑफ पीपल हु आर डिफरेंट फ्रॉम अस, एक्सेप्टेंस ऑफ पीपल हु वी मे नॉट नेसेसरीली अंडरस्टैंड इन द फर्स्ट को. इन टर्म्स ऑफ सेक्स, जेंडर, सेक्सुअलिटी, बहुत बड़ा स्पेक्ट्रम है. और इस पे बात करने के लिए हम लोग दो बहुत ही स्पेशल लोगों को आज लेकर आए हैं अपने साथ, क्योंकि पता है वो ज़माने गए यार अब जब हम सबको लगता था कि सिर्फ दो जेंडर्स एग्जिस्ट करते हैं, मेन एंड विमेन. अब the conversation has changed and we need to keep up with it, and the onus of learning is on all of us, right? और इस पे बात करने के लिए we have Nitasha, who is India's first trans woman to win a beauty pageant, and we have Urnav Biswas, who identifies as a gay man and also works on diversity and inclusion at his workplace.
Yep.
Hello both of you. How are you?
How are you? I'm good.
I'm good. I'm just thinking कि आज की conversation बहुत ही intense होने वाली है. And I'm just and I just want to start this by saying that if I mess it up, if I mess something up, if I say something wrong, if I use the wrong terms, please feel free to correct me, because I feel it's just very important to give out the right information and opinions about this particular topic. And to all my listeners, I want to say कि I know ये topic तो मैं भी बहुत heavy लग रहा है and शायद होगा भी, but I feel that it's high time that we talk about these things quite openly, and सबको कुछ ना कुछ इससे सीखने को मिलेगा. I'm pretty sure that everything that is said on today's podcast is going to be a learning for someone or the other.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to start with, जो full form होता है LGBTQIA+ का, ये जो हम term use करते हैं, which is like a blanket term for a whole community, which is like a wide spectrum of gender and identities and sexuality and whatnot. So LGBTQIA+ stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and ally.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a plus because?
I think the plus is there because, till date, we have come so far with so many genders at the moment and the different virtues of being born in this world, right? So I think it's going to be more than plus.
तो I think वो जो plus है वो इसलिए क्योंकि एक spectrum है कि
it's going to be added.
I think it's more about we want to cover everyone, because there might be people who do not identify as one of them,
Mm-hmm.
and
Any of these
and
that we
their
mentioned.
existence is still valid.
of course.
So
Right.
that's the reason, and we are unaware about it. So
Right.
that's the reason we want to cover everyone and be more inclusive, and that's the plus.
तो इसीलिए ना अभी निताशा एंड अर्नब मैं कुछ बहुत बेसिक क्वेश्चन से शुरू करूँगा, बिकॉज आई फील दैट एक बार वी गेट दैट आउट ऑफ द वे तो आगे की कॉन्वर्जेशन लोगों को ज़्यादा अच्छे से समझ आएगी.
Right.
सो मतलब लेट्स टॉक अबाउट कि क्या फ़र्क है. जैसे कई सारे लोग हैं जिनको ये भी नहीं पता कि सिसजेंडर क्या होता है. लाइक देव हर्ड ट्रांसजेंडर बट दे डोंट नो व्हाट सिसजेंडर इज.
Yep.
तो आप कैन वन ऑफ यू और बोथ ऑफ यू डिफाइन फॉर मी कि ये सिसजेंडर क्या होता है, ट्रांसजेंडर क्या होता है, क्या फ़र्क है इनमें, व्हाट इज़ इंटरसेक्स, व्हाट इज़ क्रॉस ड्रेसिंग. कुछ टर्म्स हैं जो लेट्स जस्ट क्लियर देम फर्स्ट.
Before answering this question, it's very important to know that what is sex at birth, what is gender,
Mm-hmm.
and what is
Okay.
sexual orientation.
ठीक है, तो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद दैट. सेक्स और जेंडर में क्या फ़र्क है?
Sex is good, and gender is
वाओ, ओके.
gender is I am born, I am assigned male at birth, but then I don't think from my heart and mind that I'm a guy.
Okay.
So then I am
So you identify
I
as
identify myself as something different than my sex at birth.
अच्छा, तो मतलब ऐसा हो सकता है कि someone is born male, assigned male
So
at
I'll
birth.
tell you my example. I'm born with my sex at birth is male,
So is mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I identify from my mind and heart as a male. So I'm a cisgendered man.
Okay. So I am also cisgendered man. So
You're also-
if you were born, to all my listeners, I'm just explaining, if you were assigned male at birth and
Yep.
you also identify as a man, then you're cisgender.
You are cisgendered. And now sexual orientation is a very different thing. Now,
Okay.
as a man, I'm attracted towards another man. Then I'm gay.
And that's got nothing to do with your gender.
That's not got nothing to do with these other two,
Okay.
fields which I've explained. So, but I would not say that I'm 100% correct because it's a very, very difficult and complicated
Okay.
topic. So I think there are always difference in opinions, and we should be able to accept those opinions as
So
well.
I'm saying that gay people can also be cisgender.
Yep, I'm a cisgendered gay man.
Right.
Yep.
Understood. Okay. And Nitasha, tell us about the difference between like transgenders and cisgenders.
So, like, what happened was when I was born, so I was assigned male at birth. But as with time I grew, I decided that I was not in the right body. So I wanted to change. I wanted to change my, what I was assigned at birth. I wanted to be a female. I wanted to be a woman. So I underwent transition. And I underwent my surgeries and everything to be called as a woman at this point of time. So what happens over here is that I've transitioned to be a woman. And when I talk about the cisgender women, it's someone who was assigned female at birth or women at birth. So that is exactly the difference over here.
So in simpler terms, like transgender people are people who are assigned one thing at birth, but
Right.
they identify as something
As
else.
the opposite gender to
Right.
what they have.
So then, do they have to undergo surgery to be trans?
Not necessarily. I think it's a very great question because, to my belief that I wanted it. So it's my free will to do it. So someone, there might be a lot of other trans women who do not want to do it. So I think it's a free will.
Also, accessibility भी तो होती है ना, मतलब
Definitely.
हर कोई surgery afford भी तो नहीं कर सकता.
Yeah, it is expensive.
Right.
I wish it's covered by the government
Right.
someday, whenever.
Actually, मेरे पास और भी questions थे. So cross dresser और transgender में क्या फ़र्क है फिर?
So, let me put it like this. When I started my transition, that was back in 2015, long time ago. So what happens over there is there was a phase in my life where I went to my psychologist, I went to my psychiatrist because it was necessary to have these two people signing before my surgeries happen. Because they undergo rigorous evaluation to understand are they really wanting to be of the opposite gender, right? So what happens over here is I had to cross dress for a while to understand how it feels to wear a bra, how it feels to wear a panty. I'm just going a little bit more inner so people understand how does it feel when I wear a dress. So over here, I felt good. So that is exactly, I was given that green signal that yes, you can go ahead and have your surgery, right? So when it comes to cross-dresser, a person doesn't necessarily have to have a surgery undergone. Why? Because the person is happy as what the expression they're showing. So again over here then comes the non-binary. There's a lot of, it's like a chain of
like
ink and link.
we've talked about men, we've talked about women, we've talked about trans people. There are non-binary people, there are gender fluid people also.
Right.
Who don't. So can you explain what gender fluid people and non-binary
So,
people believe?
see, we have always lived in a world where everything is defined by binary, a male and a female,
Black
0
and
and
white.
1.
Yeah.
So those are the two digits, right? So it is high time we understand that there can be different, kinds of people within that spectrum of 0 and 1. Some defined, some undefined, some yet to be defined. And that's where non-binary comes. Non-binary means it's a non-zero or a non-1. It can be 0.1, it can be 0.4.
Acha.
So how much, towards male or towards female, those two binaries, I feel like. So
They don't necessarily identify as either, basically.
either ways, and also on a one particular, suppose I feel like a man today. It might happen that tomorrow I feel like a woman. So I don't define it,
Acha.
regularly, but then that's how I feel. I can't help it. So those are non-binaries.
Okay. And
It's a spectrum, as you mentioned.
ठीक है, अंडरस्टूड. एंड आई नो टू ऑल आवर लिसनर्स ऐसा होगा कि ये बातें सुन के कभी कभी आपको समझ नहीं आएंगी कि ये हो क्या रहा है और ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है, बट द होल पॉइंट इज़ कि हमें एक्सेप्टेंस चाहिए एंड नॉट लाइक आप इट इज़ नन ऑफ योर बिजनेस व्हाट अनदर पर्सन आइडेंटिफाइज
See, one point I always make, Ankush, is that whenever you are, trying to break out of the rule, you become an exception, and an exception always stands out. So no one wants to be an exception in a given point of time. If someone is trying hard to become an exception out of in spite of facing all the ridicule and all the fun being made at, that means just imagine how strongly that person believes that this is what I want.
Exactly. I think that's
Yeah.
where, I should put a word here because
Of course.
how badly I needed that, right? How badly I needed that body because the feeling is euphoria when you have undergone your journey, I would say. And I mean, I would love to share it here when I saw my body first time in the mirror. Without, I think skin is the best cloth on our bodies, so it feels euphoria. And that is exactly, he just put it in his words. Arnab.
But okay, so Nitasha, I want to talk to you about this whole journey, and if you don't mind sharing with us, because I feel that it may inspire people listening to this. It may also make more people understand what it is really like to be trans and growing up trans,
Right.
right? Because I'm pretty sure that things were difficult before you realized,
Yeah.
you know, what being trans is.
Mhm.
So, can we start from the beginning? Can you
Oh,
tell us
yeah.
about your story?
So I come from Calcutta. I was in a all boys school in St Xavier's, Calcutta. So of course bullying has been a part of my life since I was a little effeminate when I was a boy, when I was a young boy. So it's like like those visions coming right now. So it's like fighting yourself every day when you go to school, and you get to meet your class friends. And I remember staying alone from the rest of the boys because I would just not go out and play football, cricket, or all the physical activities that guys would tend to do during that time. Remember, I'm talking about 2015 now, long time back. So then what happens over here is, growing in that atmosphere, being called names and, certain way to behave. Then you go back home. Then I think my only friends were my servants in the house when I was young, right? So since my father's father was an IS officer, I was staying in a huge house and everything. So I couldn't gel with my other neighbors, but the boys were there. So it was tough.
But did you always know that you're trans, or it took a while?
A woman, I would say. I always knew I was a woman.
Okay.
So deep down within me. So I think that is exactly I knew from then.
At what age? What age was this?
I remember going through a lot of journeys that time when the first internet dropped into Calcutta. So my father got the internet, so we had computer classes. And my elder brother, who was in the same school, so I told him that, I think this is what I represent. I feel like. I remember my brother giving me a porn CD in class 10 or 9, I think I might be wrong. He said you should see the chemistry between a male and a female that time. And I was like, okay, I'm the female, right? He literally switched it on and said, I'm going to go to the other room and see what happens. So maybe this is a phase, he told me. It's a phase in your life that eventually you'll like the women body. I said, no, I don't want to. You're just forcing me to do something that I don't want to, right? And that's wrong. And at that tender age, I knew that. So I think it was in class 7 when I started this.
But did, when people react like that, did it make you question yourself? Did it make you feel like there's something not, you're different from other people?
Well, definitely. Imagine when a child goes to school and you've been boycotted, not been spoken to because of your behavior, called names like faggot and everything. I think that breaks the spirit of the child. It breaks.
Yeah, because a
And
child doesn't know it until you tell that
absolutely.
child, right?
So it made me believe that I'm different, which I was not,
Right.
So it made me believe that, okay, I'm different because this is how the world thinks about me. So, yeah, that I think it was tough. I would definitely say it was tough.
Arnav is in very deep thought right now. Do you
Yeah,
are you thinking about your experiences
Yeah,
growing
because
up?
she's talking about 2015. I came way back because I'm much older to other people over here. So when I came out, I mean, if I talk about my journey, I think my father expired when I was a little kid, and I was born and brought up. I was brought up by my sister and my mother. It was always the female members who was surrounding me. So many a times it has been told that you are gay because you were always surrounded by women. And as she mentioned,
I've also heard that कि ऐसा कई लोग मानते हैं कि if you're if you have a lot of female energy around you, so
so it makes me question their education, because if a girl is being surrounded by a lot of men, would he become a boy? So that's my, I mean, you know what I mean? I mean,
yeah.
So this has
You
nothing
can't
to,
become-
Yeah, you can't
Absolutely
become. This
not.
is not something which I have chosen. This
Yeah.
is what I am. So as she mentioned that I was also not much interested in sports. While my cousins and all my friends were busy, playing table tennis and football and cricket, I was very happy and comfortable with playing with dolls. But then the rules were I come from a very orthodox Bengali family, so they're like, oh, why is he not playing cricket? He should be, he should be going there, learn karate and all that. But slowly and steadily, I realized, that I am different, and I'm okay with my difference. So when you are confident about yourself, when you self-accept yourself, then what the third person is thinking about me doesn't make any difference. So that gave me a lot of confidence. And also, my first boyfriend whom I met in college, that person made me realize that I'm not the only one, because I didn't have internet access then. So when I saw that, okay, there can be people like me, I was already self-accepted myself. Then I saw a third person.
And you were like, "कि मैं
It
अकेला
gave
नहीं
me a
हूँ."
huge boost. I'm like,
Like both of you said, you talked about being effeminate as a child.
Right.
So did Arnab. And that was your journey to realizing that you're gay. But there may be so many gay people who may not be effeminate as kids, right? ऐसा भी तो होता होगा.
for sure. I mean,
This is not a formula, na?
there's no see over the years we have marked that, okay, pink is for women,
हाँ.
blue is for men. We have we have given gender to everything possible.
Everything, yeah.
We have given characteristics to everything. So
That's
these are
true.
all social constructs.
अरे हमने टॉयज को जेंडर दिया
हाँ.
हुआ है कि डॉल से खेल
हाँ.
रहा है तो वो तो लड़कियां
Absolutely.
खेलती हैं.
मतलब
Right.
I was asking my sister, she has equal potential like me, that why have you never, done something else? Why have you always been a school teacher? Because she's like, we have been brought up in a way that no, लड़की हो अच्छे पढ़ाई में स्कूल टीचर ही बनना है.
क्योंकि उनका वो स्कोप वही था.
हाँ.
Scope, a few professions that were accepted for
Yeah.
women.
So which is
Yeah.
ridiculous, but
course.
then yeah.
Right. So coming back to you, Nitasha, like, then where did you go from there when you realized that, okay, you're a woman?
Mm-hmm.
But did the world around you believe that just because you believe that?
Well, I remember coming out to my elder brother first, and I would just not come out to my father because he was very strict.
Sorry,
Since-
one second. I want to cut you there and
Yeah.
ask you one more question. Did you know of any people from the community at that age, or did you have any role models in your family or someone who would...
Not really. I mean, not from my family. But then, as I said, in class 7, when I had access to internet, I started Googling different transgender people, and the first one came was Miriam Rivera. So I think she was killed or something. Later on, I got to know. But then there were a lot of other girls. Like there's a news that I would like to say that Caroline Cossey was one of the first transgender James Bond girl back in 90s. So a lot of people doesn't even know about it, right? So I started following these people's journey, read about them.
I can't imagine having nobody to talk to about this when you're realizing such a big truth about yourself, and
Oh yes.
and depending on just the internet all by yourself. That must have
Mhm.
been...
Yeah, so like,
Crazy.
like, of course, my internet one, my computer was my friend. So I used to come and understand and, try to get things out, in my mind and everything. So I used to like, process it in my head. And then finally tell my brother in class 8, I remember. And one fine day I just say this font series of no use because, you're just trying to put me in a box which I don't want to. And then, so I knew like my father would be totally against it since I, like Arnab, as he lost his father. I lost my mother when I was in class 6. So, so I was in a very strict vigilance by my father as a mom and a dad both. So then
And
I...
was he supportive of this?
eventually I would say he was, but initially no. Because he would just scare me that you cannot do this and all. He was totally against it. But I found my way to leave the city and come and start a
You
new
left
life.
the city.
Yeah, I left after my schooling because in class 12 I had to finish Xavier's.
Right.
St. Xavier's were 12 years and my father was, you're going to Xavier's college, and I'm like, no, I'm not going because I have to stay back in Calcutta under his vigilance. So I had to just leave, right? So I started applying for fashion colleges, and he made me sit for CLAT exam, IELTS exam, because since he's an IELTS person, he's like, you have to sit for all these exams. And I did sit for them, and I just tick marked whatever I wanted because I didn't want it to pass.
But
Because
was switching cities, was this one reason that you could not live your life?
Definitely, yes. My relatives were not that friendly as well because they also had been not great towards my family. So my father had to see a lot because of my behavior. Like imagine back in Calcutta we have this ritual. Arnav, I'm sure that when we have Saraswati Puja, we all cousins come together, and we're having Durga Puja in my house from 10-15 years by then, and my cousins would not be like that friendly with me. So I would be like, oh my god, like that's so bad, right?
It must have been very
Very hard.
yeah, even for you, Arnab, like growing up, because I'm guessing now your mother is very supportive of it, but
I mean, right now everyone in the family is very supportive, even including my cousins. Probably Ankush, I would say, because it was way long back. I generally don't blame them because they were not aware. But because they were not aware, I can't really say that I was not tormented. I was tormented because the problems that she just mentioned, I have faced similar problems and similar issues in my life. That why are you dressing up like a girl? Why do you want to wear a bindi? And at that point, when I was in class 2 and 3, I didn't know that okay, I'm not supposed to do it.
मैं वही सोच रहा हूँ बच्चे को क्या पता है
Yeah.
बच्चा तो वही करे
I
जिसको करना है.
remember days where I was crying alone and I could not even explain it to my mother that why I was crying, because I would be very ashamed. I remember one instance in my school. I was in class 8. My biology teacher asked me, what is your gender? She was making fun of me in front of the entire
A
class.
teacher?
A biology teacher. Had it been possible, I would have told her name as well, but then
Yeah, let's not name those evil spirits.
yeah, but
Yeah.
but that incident was so scary for me with 66 other, because I remember there were 67 students in the class and all other 66 people laughing at me.
Must have been humiliating.
It was very humiliating. I don't remember what I have done to ask me that question, and I mean my question right now would have been, how dare you?
And it was obviously done to shame you, and not
Done to shame me.
It was not a genuine question.
And you won't believe me, she was one of those teachers in school whom everyone would look up to. She was dressed up very smartly, and she was one of those fancy teachers, I would say. And she asked me this question, but till date, that incident is there fresh in my mind.
Yeah, do you ever get, like, for example, I was also bullied as a child, and I feel that now I have overcome all of that, but one mention of these incidents and they're very fresh in my memory.
Yeah.
So is it the same? I'm sure it was.
Well, since Arnav has mentioned biology teacher, I mean, let's not name these evil spirits, first of all. So
Good for them, actually.
Yeah,
right
good
now,
for
good
them.
for them right now.
Yeah, so what happened over here was I had a teacher who would imitate me in front of my 50 other odd students. So and that time I was in class 10. My ICSE was on the way. So I remember I think it was a maths class, or yeah, it was let's not get into too much of details as well. So the teacher comes and I as a normal student, I would just say that I had a question for a certain for a certain subject, right, the syllabus. So then he would imitate me. So that's like, and the entire class would laugh. And
Imagine teachers doing this. They're
Yeah,
supposed
yeah,
to
yeah.
teach you, and they're supposed to
Yeah.
be good role models. And
Yeah.
wow.
So the entire class would laugh, and you imagine that the teacher is there for 45 minutes and teaching, and he's gone. So what I'm going through the rest of the day from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So they would just they would do the same thing because teachers are supposed to be teaching students. So if you're teaching this to bully others, you're adding on fuel to fire. So that is exactly.
मतलब transphobia, homophobia इतना deep run करता है कि probably those teachers didn't realize what they were doing.
No, probably that same teacher would behave completely differently right now, because I'm sure she's a well-read woman and she would know.
Evolved.
She has evolved. So in my case, I most of the times, pardon a lot of people thinking that okay, it was way too back, but that teacher I could not pardon, honestly.
मुझे ये भी पूछना था कि for example, now your parents are supportive. Are your parents supportive now?
Yeah, I think the tables turned for me after when my father saw the first article in Calcutta News that I was the first Kolkata trans woman to win a beauty pageant. So that is where my turning point happened. So my father would, I remember not speaking to him for quite a long time, because for him it was very hard to understand that, his son is a she now, right? So he tried all his best
So, when you transitioned,
to...
do you remember the day when after the transition you met your parents?
Oh yes. I think the best part of my life was when I won the pageant in 2017.
So
And
once again, for all the listeners, transition meaning that you underwent A surgery?
surgery to call myself a woman.
Okay.
I'm just like
Like a
putting it
physical surgery?
a physical surgery, yeah.
Okay.
So so what happened was when I went back to Calcutta, so what happened was I met him, right, my father. So for the first time in human flesh, he saw me like that, and I met all his colleagues. And the most shocking part,
पहली बार जब मिले?
yes, I met all his colleagues, and they kind of like inaugurated me with flowers because I made my father proud, right? And there were other IAS officers, IPS officers, and everything. And out of which one I used to call G2 when I was young, like G2 in Bengali we say that. So he comes and he was crying. Okay, I think he was not drunk then, so he was not drunk yet. So he was
Mood
crying.
change हो गया स्टोरी का एक सेकंड में.
He was crying and holding my hand, and his wife was there, auntie was there. So he was holding my hand. I said, "Uncle, why are you crying?" And then he says that, you know what, Nitasha, when I was young, you can imagine when I was young, he's like plus 60, right? I kind of wore my sister's frock. And my father would come and beat my shit out of me that evening, right? So seeing you, I realized that what you have changed in our minds. So I think that gave me a lot of courage, and
That's impact.
that's a huge impact. And I had tears in my eyes, and I'm getting goosebumps right now because I think that incident was very touchy in my mind that time.
I just want to say I'm very, very proud of you.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
all are. I think one small point which I want to make crying से मुझे याद आया.
Make
बहुत-
big points also. है
हाँ
ना?
तो बहुत लोग ना मुझसे बात करता है कि and the conversation starts with oh with a very sad face. No, I'm very happy. I'm
like sympathize करते
yeah,
हैं.
I'm like, why do you think that I'm unhappy? I mean, lot of
But-
people talk to me. हाँ.
Do you not think that sometimes, I'm not defending people, but I'm just saying sometimes sympathizing may be a way of them showing support, or is that not how you're supposed to
I
show
think
support?
you should show support. We are talking about equality. No one wants
And normalizing.
and normalizing. The more you will sympathize, the bigger the problem becomes because it's always you're always looked in a different looked with a
The
different
special
lens.
place.
Yeah.
So are you saying that if you tell someone, that if you come out to someone or if you tell them your story, what is an appropriate response? Is there an appropriate response?
I mean, depends.
Mm.
Also, generally, I would not tell my story to everyone. For I can give you a small incident which happened yesterday.
अब तो podcast पे बता दिया ना.
Yeah.
I mean, but then I came out to a colleague like very, very, normally, without much hustle, and but he didn't react, and that's exactly the reaction we want. He didn't
That's
react. He
what-
didn't say. In fact, I was thinking कि इसने
Why
react
make a
नहीं किया.
क्योंकि you're so used to
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
giving you reactions.
And then it's like, whoa, so
हाँ.
she got my
Like,
point.
hallelujah, some big
Yeah.
thing has happened. Oh my God.
Uh,
It's fine to just have being gay is okay.
It's
That's what.
so I was talking to this trans person once, and she told me that according to her it's very personal. That's what she said. She said that it's very personal, but I like the reactions where there is no reaction, because that's the only time where I feel like what I look like, what my identity is not a point of conversation. Matlab, I tell people something, they're like, okay, cool. And
Yeah.
that's normal.
Yeah.
That's
That's-
normalizing it in the real sense,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
according to her.
The younger generation, they don't care. I mean, most of them. I would actually not say the younger generation in total, because I
हाँ,
mean,
obviously.
we are
The
talking
Gen
about
Z.
we are talking about a certain section of the society, educated, aware of social media. So
Exposure hai.
exposure hai, lives in metro cities. Those handful of people, they don't react. But is this the same condition all over India or all over rural India?
Of
I'm
course
not
not.
sure. I'm not sure.
Of course not.
Yeah, of course
रूरल
not.
इंडिया में मतलब एक अभी हम लोग भी तो एक उसमें है ना, एको चेम्बर में है.
हाँ.
वी ऑल्सो सोशलाइज विद पीपल लाइक अस.
Yeah,
तो हमें लगता
yeah.
है कि वर्ल्ड
हाँ.
बदल रहा है, बट मे बी इन द लार्जर पिक्चर बट ट्रिकल डाउन तो हो ही रहा होगा ना, कुछ तो इफेक्ट पड़ ही रहा होगा.
कुछ effect पड़ता है because the kind of messages Ankush I get on social media every day, by putting up very simple stuff, people come back saying that you are great, you are a hero. I said I don't think I've done something supernatural, but those things trigger, those things make a huge impact in their lives.
बट इमेजिन when like it's so interesting that you said कि मैंने कुछ supernatural थोड़ी करा है, but
Exactly.
interesting, you embracing yourself is seen as an act of heroism, because
Right. Right.
that's where we are.
Right. I'm just being me.
And that is supposed to be a statement in itself, because most people are not allowed to be that.
Right. Right.
तो ये कितनी like as much as I'm proud of you, I also feel कि मतलब हम उस जगह से आ रहे हैं जहाँ पे people are not allowed to be themselves.
Yeah, I mean, many people call me privileged for that. I think we are privileged, but how we best utilize that privilege is also something in our hand. I mean, I can give you a small example, which one activity we did in our office. So
हाँ, just to give context, अर्नब जिस कंपनी में अर्नब काम करता है, he does a lot of work for the community.
yeah.
What do you do? एक बार थोड़ा background दे दो.
So I work in finance, but then I also lead the LGBTI wing in my company. So that ways we have done a lot for social inclusion of the community. But then as a part of the activities, Ankush, I would just tell you a small example. We asked people to wear nail polish on their one of the fingers and ask them to hide throughout the day. Most of 90% of the people came back with a horrified experience that I can't hide my finger. Imagine a gay person hiding his own self throughout her or his life. How difficult it can be. You can't hide one finger. I'm hiding myself all over, every time I come out.
Wow.
I think they'll understand how does it feel. It's a great
Maybe a
thing you've
fraction.
started.
Maybe a fraction.
I mean, just paint one of the fingers and then I ask you to hide. Don't show this finger to anyone throughout the day. Come back to me and tell me how you feel tomorrow.
Running
Wow.
running into your own shoes.
I really hope all the listeners listening to this right now are understanding what is being said here. यार ये कितनी important conversation है और ये concept कितना easy है समझना.
हाँ, और मतलब हंस के भी वैसे ये कॉन्वर्सेशन कर सकते हैं. मतलब आई एम ऑल्सो गेटिंग वेरी सीरियस.
No,
बट
that's
हाँ
but ठीक है.
हाँ.
और जो मैं ट्रिकल इफेक्ट की बात कर रहा था कि चेंज हो रहा है, मुझे वही पूछना है कि सेक्शन 377 डिक्रिमिनलाइज हो चुका है, काफ़ी साल हो गए, उसके बाद क्या हैज़ देयर बीन अ डिफरेंस?
Well, I think definitely yes.
Nitasha is thinking how to answer this.
Yeah, like no, I mean yes, it's a mixed feeling. Totally.
Yes, I mean no, I mean yes.
It's a mixed feeling. Why? Because I think, of course, Thorum, little bit change has been visible, but then we are not 100% yet.
Could we have had this conversation if it was not decriminalized? मुझे नहीं पता, मैं genuinely पूछ रहा हूँ.
आई
क्योंकि उससे पहले तो you could not even openly.
I think change.
See, being gay was never
Acha.
a criminal act. I mean, having
being caught in
a sexual position with a person of same orientation or same gender. I mean, not the right terms.
Same sex.
Same sex. That was not legal.
Okay.
But then again, we had other laws. Those were very complicated.
Nitasha, what do you have to say about this?
I think.
Have you
Arnab is,
decided yes or no?
No, of course. I mean, little, as I said, I think I mentioned you, like little change has been there, but Arnab is right as well. Like, by say education is something that should reach each part of this land. So everybody understands and what it is, and without knowing, how will you know who is gay, who is trans person? Like, till date, I would say that in 2022, if I go to a village and someone will not, if I tell, or someone gets to know I'm a trans woman, I think there'll be reactions still. Because education has not reached in that land or that part of India.
Legally तो कोई problem नहीं है, लेकिन socially
yes, I think society wise there's a lot to do. We have not even near the 10, I think.
Legally problem नहीं है बोलना भी मुश्किल है because Section 377 decriminalizes homosexuality, but it has not given us equal rights. We can't marry, we can't have inheritance of property, we can't divorce, we can't do a lot of stuff.
Inheritance of property?
Inheritance of property from, I mean, if I have a partner, there is no inheritance of property by the partner.
How it is in the cisgender partners.
So there are multiple issues still there. So I mean, whether I want to get married or not, that's a personal question. Probably I don't know.
Option तो
But I should have the option of saying yes or no.
जब बाकियों को option है तो आपको क्यों नहीं?
So I'm not very sure. So I would not comment about surrogacy and adoption. So I think there are problems there as well. So legally, are we there? We are not there.
अच्छा, मुझे ये बताओ कि Nitasha, I want to ask you this. After you transitioned, it obviously changed the way you look.
My life changed. Yeah,
your life
totally.
changed. Right. Has dating been more difficult after, your transition?
So, I will say that dating life, of course, being on, like, of course, I used to use few of the social apps to, we're humans, we want friends. We look out for new people. So then when I was, swiping on, men in the town, so there were times that I would get a lot of swipes because of my pictures, or maybe some guy likes me, or but the way I look or the way I talk, whatever. So someone has liked me, and then comes the hard part. So before that hard part comes, I've kept in my mind I used to mention transgender women. So I don't want to question that in a separate part way.
Does it put you in an uncomfortable spot when the
Yeah,
conversation gets to
because-
there? And
because you know what, imagine I'm dating a straight guy tomorrow and a heterosexual guy. So if the person doesn't know about my past, I have to say eventually, right? Because I've had a incident like this back in Bombay where I was dating this guy. So I just randomly met him at a club in South Bombay, and so he didn't know about me. We met at a club, loud music and everything. So he didn't know about me. And then eventually I found that he was having feelings for me. I would hang out with him for coffees and everything. So eventually I had to come out to him and tell him. So then it's like, I'm liking the guy as well. And if I tell him, oh, I've transitioned, he'll say, oh my, what the hell is this?
oh shit.
So it's
so वहाँ
gone.
पे transphobia वहाँ पे भी होता है.
Of course it is. So, you know, I think dating side, very few people will understand. They have this mind like a heterosexual guy in my historic movements and everything that what I have understood. That is, the guy would ask you, oh, are you operated, or have you been through the process? Have you not been through the process? Or you look operated. So these are the kind of things that I've got because, okay, how are you so possible? Right? So that
Possible मतलब?
possible, you know, as you're looking very womanly in this
अच्छा,
society.
possible मतलब कि आपको देख के आप
Nobody can, like maybe like someone cannot understand that you're a transgendered person.
okay.
Yeah, so
And
that's
so-
possible.
So I'm guessing that the situation would be much worse for trans
Someone
women
who
who
might not be possible.
right.
And that is where my voice was for my international pageants, that I said that, you know, my voice for all those girls, my heart goes out to them, because I've seen a little bit, maybe out of 100, I've seen 20% of it. Someone who will go through this, 80% of it is so hard.
तो
Their life is.
तो मुझे एक और क्वेश्चन दिमाग में आ रहा है कि नाउ यू जस्ट सेड कि जैसे ट्रांस वुमेन में भी वो पॉसिबल वाला एस्पेक्ट होता है कि क्या
Right.
आपको देख के पता चल रहा है
Mhm,
कि आप ट्रांस हो या नहीं हो, क्योंकि अगर आपको देख के पता चल रहा है तो इट डायरेक्टली अफेक्ट्स योर लाइफ
Definitely.
एवरी डे व्हेन यू आर आउट ऑन द रोड यू आर
Absolutely.
मोर अनसेफ, राइट?
Right.
तो देन फिर जब ये ब्यूटी पैजेंट्स आ जाते हैं, व्हाट इज योर ओपिनियन ऑन दैट? बिकॉज isn't that also kind of celebrating कि आप कितने possible हो as a trans person?
So, you know, I think beauty pageants, I would say, like, since I was in the India's first transgender beauty pageant, so I think that was pan-India. So I think personally that beauty pageants are done to empower the community at this point of time. But with
At this point in
at
time.
this point of time, but eventually when I go to 2040s, 2050s or beyond that, I do see pageants where all genders are being celebrated, you know. So we are going there over time.
Okay.
So like if we say that let's do Miss India for everyone, there will be a problem now, because right now the education has not reached every part of India. So that is exactly the voices will come.
प्रोनाउंस की बात करते हैं प्लीज़. ये तो मुझे लगता है कि ये एड्रेस होना ही चाहिए, क्योंकि वी ऑल हियर प्रोनाउंस एंड ये वो. एंड मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि बहुत सारे लोगों के दिमाग में क्वेश्चन है कि प्रोनाउंस क्या होते हैं, और अगर इफ देयर इज समवन जिसको देख के लगता है दैट दिस पर्सन वुड बी अ मैन बट प्रोनाउंस कुछ और है, ऐसा कन्फ्यूजन लोगों के दिमाग में होती है. तो मुझे जानना है, फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज प्रोनाउंस क्या होते हैं. सेकंड क्वेश्चन, क्या मतलब क्या आपको सबको मिलके पूछना चाहिए कि आपके प्रोनाउंस क्या हैं? व्हाट इज द राइट वे?
So you know what is specified pronouns? When I say specified pronouns, it means like today you see me and you will say, okay, I'll address her as she, her, hers.
That would be my first reaction.
Reaction.
Because of the way
But-
we are conditioned.
Condition, right? When you see Arnab, it will be he, him, his, right? So what happens over here? These are called specified pronouns. Apart from that, there are people who want to be addressed as they, that, them, right?
So
There are
they जो लोग they them
Non-binary.
use करते हैं,
non-binary.
they don't want to necessarily be called a man or a woman basically.
In the binary system, they don't want to
और
follow.
वो दिखने में आपको कैसे भी लग सकते हैं, like उनके कपड़ों से कोई लेना देना नहीं है.
generally, the
हाँ.
term generally is very important. A cisgendered man would say that he has his pronouns as he, him, his.
हाँ, जैसे मेरे हैं.
A cisgendered woman would say my pronouns is she, her, hers.
तो बेसिकली अगर आप if you were assigned female at birth and you identify as a woman, तो generally
She would say that my pronoun is she, her, hers. But there can be conditions that she might not. Right?
Exactly.
So gender is something which we identify as. So gender
Personal
is
है.
personal है. So
उसका कपड़ों से कोई लेना
उसका
देना नहीं
कपड़ों से कोई लेना देना नहीं है. मतलब we have our set norms in mind कि okay, these are the traits of a man. He looks like a man.
है. तो शर्ट पैंट पहनी है तो
Short
मतलब
man.
man ही
So
है.
he, him, his. But then ideally, I would say that in most of the cases they are correct. But there are cases where you are not correct. and in no way, if it's a 10%, that doesn't mean that they are not important.
Of course.
They are equally important. So if you're
अब वो
not
10% हमें अभी इसलिए पता है क्योंकि वो we don't know enough people who have come out as
right.
anything.
So if you're not confident, what I feel, Ankush, even many a times I have faced situations where I was not sure that what is the correct pronoun to use. Very politely, and there are ways of asking. You can ask that, listen, Mr. X or Mrs. Y or Miss X, Miss Y, जो भी है, कि I'm not very sure. Sorry, Mr. and Miss भी use करना यहाँ
Exactly.
पे
आपको
मुश्किल
नाम
है.
use
What are
करना.
your
हाँ,
pronouns?
that I'm not very sure. Would you mind?
So it's like, hi Nitasha, what are your
Hi,
pronouns?
Nitasha.
Hi
Exactly.
Arnav, what are your pronouns? But मुझे एक बात बताओ, should this be the first question you ask every time you meet someone या ये every time you're confused?
I think, I have a solution here. Just try.
Oh, there's a solution. Okay.
The
Yeah.
best way to put it politely is like tomorrow I see someone, I would say, hi, good evening. What are your pronouns, or how can I address you as?
हाँ.
Yeah.
How politely you can ask.
Yeah.
But
the
Nitasha,
person-
मुझे like अगर आप layman देखिए, अगर आप जैसे for example if you're interacting with anyone in the daily life, like for example आप बाहर जाते हो, not everyone will understand English, for example. पहली बात तो हमारी country में. So I just want to understand कि how do we make this a thing that people actually follow?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I mean, see, again, there's a educated working class. Probably they are aware of. If you ask, someone not within the specified spectrum,
yeah.
that okay, you ask me my pronoun before, they will say what bullshit he's talking,
Right.
right? So it's easier said than done. But there should be a starting point. It has already started in one
लोग
section.
bios में लिखने लगे
हाँ,
हैं.
in one section of the society it has started, and we should try encouraging it more. But then how fast we can do it is a very difficult question. And also मतलब हमेशा पूछना मुझे लगता है कि
हमेशा पूछना is not practical
It's
is
not
what
practical.
I
I
feel.
mean-
Because every conversation doesn't start like
no.
कि
And also ना मतलब intention पता चल जाता है. मतलब if you are genuinely interested, if you really want to know, ask it. Otherwise, don't really. मतलब I would severely mind if someone wants to behave very inclusive in public and show that, oh my God, I'm aware of it, and ask what is your preferred pronoun, but he or she gives up, doesn't care. Like
and they don't use them properly.
don't use them properly just to be cool.
हाँ.
You don't have to ask it.
Okay. And मुझे एक और बात बताओ कि अगर बाय चांस किसी का आपने प्रोनाउन अज्यूम कर लिया, क्योंकि अब कंडीशनिंग तो है ना. अब आप इतने लोगों को बचपन से तो इफ़ यू लुक एट समवन हु लुक्स लाइक हाउ अ मैन ड्रेसेस, तो आप उसको ही हिम ही बोलोगे, बाय डिफॉल्ट. स्पेशली समवन हु इज नॉट वेरी सेंसिटिव अबाउट दीज टॉपिक्स एंड हैजंट रेड अ लॉट. तो अब अगर गलती हो गई एंड यू फाइंड आउट कि ओके दिस पर्सन्स प्रोनाउंस आर नॉट ही हिम, लुक्स लाइक हाउ अ मैन ड्रेसेस बट the pronouns, तो फिर क्या, like do you apologize? Do you?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
In a corporate sector, I do.
ठीक है.
But not all. I mean,
I think it should be in regular life as well.
Yeah.
It's
Just
okay to
apologize.
apologize. Yeah. I'm so sorry to, address you as that. So thank you for making me correct. I think how beautifully you can say that.
also,
know.
in many, we are trained that how gender neutral we can be. Instead of saying that hi boys and girls, hi ladies and gentlemen.
मेरे को आदत है हाई, जैसे अभी भी I'm addressing you two as guys. जैसे
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
so tell
So
me.
in my office, if you write an email with hi guys, we have the right not to respond you.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah. You always have to use gender neutral language like hi friends and folks, which has no gender.
Folks, yeah.
Someone wrote an email that to the chairman, and the email was declined because it should be chairperson, not chairman.
अब बात वहीं आ जाती है ना अर्नब कि आप how willing are you to learn? Because ये चीज़ें तो स्कूल में किसी को भी
I
नहीं.
wrote one email saying manpower planning.
हाँ.
My manager declined the meeting saying make it resource planning.
Because manpower.
Yeah.
So gender neutral terms are the way.
Yeah.
कि like hello people बोल लो.
It is the safest.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
And I also think that if you're addressing a crowd, वहाँ पे बहुत सारे लोग हैं. If you just say hello folks, hello people, everybody feels included.
Yeah.
Exactly.
ऐसा नहीं कि एक को लगेगा कि
Right.
यार
Point.
Right.
कि मैं अलग हूँ इनसे. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
Very good
Yeah.
point. I think psychologically feel, wow, I'm a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're dressing me as well.
And Arnab, so about coming up, let's talk about coming out. Let's talk about coming out. How difficult has it been for you to come out versus like in general also? How difficult? I'm sure you know a lot more stories of queer people. How difficult is it really to come out?
It depends on a lot of social and economic condition, because most of the time
मतलब financial
conditions, because for me it was difficult because I was not sure how my family would react. it wasn't. I mean, many people would say that okay, you are privileged and you have a you have a very easy life. But then I wrote my own story. It wasn't very easy in the beginning because I also had my share of humiliation and cross questioning, and I was also taken to a doctor that is my son what is he saying. So but then with education, if I could change the mind of my mother, and also I come from a huge joint family with 300 relatives with the same surname, I have successfully changed all their mind. They are very comfortable with the queer community, the LGBTIQ community. They know a lot about it because I have spread word about it. So now it is easy, but coming out was difficult. It is still difficult for most of the people in India. I think it's also a very personal decision whether you really want to come out or not, because if a straight person is not coming out and calling out loud in public, then I don't think
कि मतलब अगर स्ट्रेट इंसान को बोलने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ रही कि
थोड़ी
मैं
ना
स्ट्रेट
बोलता है कि
हूँ,
मैं स्ट्रेट हूँ,
हाँ,
तो
हम
मैं क्यों
करें?
बोलूँ. मतलब आई सी माई इंटेंशन इज वेरी डिफरेंट बिकॉज आई एम वेरी कंफर्टेबल. आई वांट टू टॉक अबाउट इट बिकॉज देयर शुड बी समवन हु शुड बी टॉकिंग अबाउट
And
इट.
you're willing to make that
I'm
impact.
willing to make that impact. Not everyone is comfortable. So coming out, not coming out is something, very personal, but it is still very difficult.
But when you decide to come out to someone, आप क्या quality देखते हो उस इंसान में?
See, I don't look at any quality. I come out to everyone
Okay.
because I'm just being me. So as I said that in a gym, I would still say, oh my God, this guy is hot. And obviously my, it's almost like coming out. And then they even question, क्या बोला तूने? I'm like, yeah, so I'm attracted to men.
Hmm.
And whether you accept it or you don't accept it, it's your problem. It's not my problem.
And Nitasha, after you transitioned,
Mm-hmm.
उसके बाद तो कितने सारे लोग होंगे जो आपको पहले से जानते हैं,
Right.
and then they meet you again. So how has that been like? Because it's like you have made the change that you wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
and you have accepted yourself, but बाकी लोग तो अभी भी
Still lagging
And-
behind. So I
Huh.
think like a lot of people have my like out of 10 friends, 5 has been lost in
Yeah.
that journey.
you lost friends
Yes,
because you
because
transitioned.
because I transitioned, they had a problem or they couldn't take me
पर उनकी क्या problem? आपने whatever you've done with your body.
with my body, but then they had a problem. I don't know why. I still figure out sometime, but I tell that I think the universe pushed them out. So
So you're
that's-
glad.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Good
actually,
riddance.
it's good riddance. Yeah. So probably something was there in the karmic connection, so it's gone. So I think it's good because if they couldn't have accepted me during that time, so there's so many other trans women they will be coming across will do the same thing, right? So what's the use?
And also let's talk about
They don't want to grow.
how unsafe life is for trans people in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, you could still afford the surgery, you could still
Right.
eventually get there, but there are so many people who struggle for like shelter.
Right.
There's so many of them that we see on the streets,
Mm-hmm.
and they have also been kind of, मतलब उनको भी ऐसे गलत वे में देखा जाता है, demonize किया जाता है
Right.
कि ये लोग तो ये करने आ रहे हैं, वो करने आ रहे हैं, and it's almost become an insult word.
Mm-hmm.
तो उसके बारे में एज अ ट्रांस पर्सन व्हाट डू यू वांट टू से? बिकॉज मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जब हम ट्रांसजेंडर लोगों की बातें करते हैं, जो लोग प्रिविलेज्ड होते हैं उनके बारे में तो बात हो रही है, बट पीपल हु आर स्ट्रगलिंग आउट ऑन द रोड्स ऑल्सो,
Yeah.
जिनको हम बचपन से देख रहे हैं बड़े होते हुए ट्रैफिक सिग्नल्स पे, रेड लाइट्स पे, हर जगह पे,
Mm-hmm.
लाइफ मस्ट बी रियली हार्ड फॉर देम, राइट?
Of course, life is, I'm sure, because, I was doing this documentary on the transgender life when I was in my media college in Calcutta. So what happened was, that was my first year. I remember that was my project, right? So I literally went, Shonagachi is one of the most highlighted places in the world, like for prostitution and for these work. So I went there and I saw this, you literally get 15 rupees a person in a night, 2 millions of money over there. So I saw these trans girls who were standing, and I on purpose went and I asked because I wanted to know their journey. To one of them I asked, and she was like going to get a meal for like for a night by sleeping with someone. It touched my heart. Like, why would she do this? Why does she has to do this and go through so much of pain, right? So I personally feel that this is happening because insensitivity towards the community first. Second would be lack of education, again comes back. Third is the government, how much of extension of hand the government is giving as well.
Talk about being gay and what are the things that people don't understand about gay people.
I mean, I'm gay, but then I'm not sexually frustrated. That's what I want to say. Because the moment you come out to a straight man, I'm like, I have faced this so many times in my life that I'm getting like, oh, don't touch me. I'm like, listen,
हाँ ये होता है ना लड़के
हाँ.
बोलते नो होमो.
या नो होमो. अरे मुझे नहीं पसंद है तू. मतलब समझ रहे हो?
So ये भी तो subtle homophobia है ना.
But this is subtle homophobia. There are different kinds of subtle homophobia. I mean, you know, you accept a gay friend, but you don't accept your gay brother. This is subtle homophobia.
मतलब क्या है इसका कि मतलब
जब तक वो मेरे घर 4 दीवारी के बाहर है,
हाँ.
it is fine, but you can't be gay inside these 4 walls.
right? तो कितने पेरेंट्स होते हैं वो गे मूवीज देख के बोलेंगे कि
नहीं,
दिस इज ग्रेट बट
yeah,
अपने
yeah.
घर
Oh
में
my
कोई
God. You know, I'm one of those liberal mothers. I wouldn't mind my son being gay. Next day when the son comes out, I have this example in my family. She howled and cried, my son is gay, my son is gay. I don't know what happened to those dialogues 2 years back.
हाँ
So those are subtle homophobia. There is subtle homophobia within the community too. There are many gay people who would say, अरे तू बहुत ज़्यादा typical gay जैसा बात करता है. You are not, you know, this is not one of those behaviors. This is also homophobia. What is typical gay?
मतलब अच्छा कि there's no one way to be gay.
Say I'm gay. There's another person who is gay. He dresses up like he doesn't have any traits which is like visibly
जो
noticeable.
straight passing
हाँ,
बोलते
straight
हैं.
passing. हाँ, and then you would say, why do you so typically? This is also a homophobic behavior, homophobic dialogue. I mean,
कि you're too gay for our liking.
हाँ, you know. So there can be
Understood. And what about like what are the common things that people say जो transphobic होती हैं? You know what I mean?
I think
अभी भी जो मिलती हैं जिन
yes,
हाँ.
there are various ways you can show it. One is which I have faced was silent discrimination when I used to work and when I started working at a company. So I would like initial days when I transitioned, I would definitely feel that I was not a part of the company. When people are having dinner, lunches together and everything, I would not be called because okay, oh, she's transitioning. I don't know what is she doing. This typical mindset of having that, oh, she's transitioning means she's sleeping around. I'm sorry, I'm not available for everyone. There's likings between people, right? So that mindset, I think these are like what transphobic behavior end of the day, because you're not playing a part to be together when you're having lunches, to talk to your fellow colleagues and everything. And the second is I definitely feel that transgender means easily a lay down. That's the wrong conception. I would just not want to sleep until it's without the consent of two person. Why would I get attracted to every man? I have my choices. I have my free will towards a man. So I think that is one. So and then third is like I feel that this is changing. I believe because with my experience of dating then till last few years, and I shared this with my partner as well, that earlier things were like, oh, she's a trans means let's meet her at the corner, understand her, this and that and everything. But things are changing on that. So that's a transphobic behavior. The moment when that you see someone transitioning, transgender, like you're like, oh my God, I don't want to be hanging out with the person and everything. But you want to sleep around, have a good time. So that's wrong.
So I was already discussing this with Nitasha थोड़ी देर पहले, which is why I'm asking this. Do you mind telling us about your surgeries and the whole process of transitioning? Because like we've already understood कि transition करना ज़रूरी नहीं है for a trans person.
It's a very personal choice.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, it's person to person. Like whoever wants to do it can do it. Whoever doesn't want to do it, it's fine. Like it's end of the day, it's human.
But for people who may want to do it, मतलब what are the things that people need to understand about the whole process of transitioning and the surgeries and
Right. So I think I will place it like this, that first of all, surgeries are hard. When you undergo a surgery, it's not easy, because I have, with my experience of surgeries, I would say that my pain began from the time my anesthesia was over. That is where the pain begins, because once
surgery होने के बाद.
Yes, the pain and everything comes, right? Because once you're in the OT table, you don't get to know. You just like, they put sedation and you're gone, right? You're just senseless. So I think, over here, I would say that the surgeries, I've gone through series of surgeries.
So first,
one being just 1 month late.
First, they do some hormonal...
HRT, it's hormonal therapy for rigorous 3 years.
पहले होता है वो.
Yes, that is the first one, because during...
Operation से पहले होता है ये.
Of course, that's before the surgery.
So what is the first step?
The first step is you go to the psychologist and the psychiatrist.
अच्छा.
You start having a friend to start talking, right?
Okay.
You start talking to them. They tell you to cross-dress. That how comfortable are you to wear those dresses and feel how women you feel. So the cross-dressing part comes once the green signal is given by the doctors, the psychologist and the psychiatrist. So once they feel that yes, she is ready. I remember when I used to go to my psychologist and psychiatrist, she would make me turn into the wall, and she would just sit behind me and talk. She said, Nitasha, don't see me, just talk to the wall, whatever I ask. So I went through that process for almost 3 years.
Oh.
I mean, because they understand, because they don't want a child or a person to transition and regret. There are a lot of girls who are doing this at this point of time. After surgeries, they are not happy, right? There are lots of cases like this. So they want to be 110% sure, because it's a non-reversible process,
Right.
right? So
That's an important decision.
yes, so
Right.
of your life. So that is where exactly when then it happens that the HRT happens, where your physical attributes changes, right? Your body becomes tender, your skin becomes softer. You tend to look. There's a point when you will not look manly, and you'll not look womanly. That's few months. I mean, half a year where I was so I'm uncomfortable going out, because people will judge you, see you.
So it changes the way you look.
Yes, because your feminine aspects come out. You
Okay.
look softer, your hair goes less. There's a lot of things to it. I'm going into the details. So you look very very effeminate by looks. Your hair is not grown, it's halfway, and you have your laser sessions because you don't want beard. Luckily I didn't go too much, so I had less hair. But then there are a lot of people who has to go, right? This friend of mine who wants to transition, I told him that you need 5 lakh rupees for your laser, because he's got this huge light of beard. So these are the things that is then after that a lot of people wants to do go for body correction, like changing the body contouring,
Hmm.
so then you go for your SRS,
SRS,
the sex reassignment surgery,
which is the gender.
the genitals change then onwards, and then the list is endless to
Right.
look beauty.
एंड मैं तो ये निताशा से इसलिए पूछ रहा हूँ क्योंकि हमने ऑलरेडी इस बारे में बात कर ली थी. सो आई हैड हर कंसेंट बिफोर आस्किंग हर दिस. बट लाइक यू सेड, it's not okay to ask this to trans people, na? Ki aapki, like, have you undergone a surgery or not?
I think it's already like you're judging, right? Why you want to get into someone's pants before you're meeting the person to know? Like, why you want to go, or you have had a surgery? I mean, that shouldn't concern the person.
तो नहीं पूछना चाहिए.
I think
Can I
that is
ask
after
one
some time.
question
हाँ.
to her?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So suppose
Mhm.
someone is transitioning,
Mhm.
as you said that your friend has a lot of beard,
Right.
and what if this person decides not to do a laser surgery and
हाँ.
keep the beard? How accepting would be from the trans community to accept this person who has
Mhm.
transitioned and has kept?
I think if I was a part of it, I would definitely, with wholeheartedly, I would take him, because it's again a personal
But is
choice.
is it the regular behavior, or is it how accepting the community is?
Okay, now I'll put it over here. See now how our society is running, right? When we see someone, our mind is very stereotype on this, that when we see a woman, she has to have long hair, she has to have a very curvy body, she has to have a beautiful skin. When I see a guy, he has to look a certain way. So this pressure of body contouring, how he mentions that if he doesn't want to go for laser and grow hair, it's very much possible. Today, I would say it's a free will. Let him do whatever. I mean, ask the pronouns. If it's she, you address her as a she.
And now we're going to the next segment called कुछ करते हैं यार, where मैं इस पूरी डिस्कशन को बहुत सिंपल करना चाहूँगा. There may be a lot of queer people listening to this who I'm pretty sure both of you have empowered and
And whom
encouraged.
we might have also nudged the wrong way because we gave wrong answers. I don't know.
Maybe
Yeah.
we'll know in the comments.
Yeah.
We'll know in the comments. And
Please be
rightfully
gentle.
so.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. Or don't be gentle. I mean, ठीक है. But मैं चाहता हूँ कि आप लोग एक एक करके ऐसी कुछ statements बोले जो आपकी तरफ आपको बोली जाती है, which are homophobic, transphobic, and how can a person reply to these things? क्योंकि अगर आपको बोला जाता है तो बहुत लोगों को बोला जाता होगा. So let's start with you, Arnav.
So now people don't say it. Many people in my childhood have called me, "Arey tu to hijra hai." I have several inhibitions about this statement because being hijra is not
Insult.
it's not an insult, because hijras do exist. So if someone calls me hijra, I would say, नहीं तू गलत बोल रहा है, मैं गे हूँ.
It's factually wrong.
हाँ, factually wrong.
Yeah.
मतलब I don't know the exact definition of a hijra, and because I have a confusion, I would not tag myself as hijra because I don't know what is exactly that. I'm pretty much sure 200% that I'm gay, so I would be comfortable being called a gay. So I would say कि
I think that's very savage in itself कि बोलो नहीं तूने गलत बोला
हाँ
है.
गलत, क्योंकि many times people say तू तो gay है, हम लोग हाँ फिर चलेगा.
Okay, and what more statements?
So
like
they
that?
get very offended because the people who try to offend you, if you react in a way which they were not expecting, they get very offended because उनका पूरा time ही खराब हो गया ना फिर.
पूरा plan chop
पूरा plan chopper हो गया. I mean, I have heard weird comments beyond this, but then I don't want to say it. So
Is there any way you can say it and without saying it?
I will. So there's a
Nice.
Hindi word of a genital, right, which starts with L.
Yeah.
So because
Ludo.
of-
Let's call it Ludo.
Ludo. So let's call it Ludo. So Ludo, and then I went to my company sent me to London because of a there was a dinner for all the inclusion work I have done. So they invited me for that. So उसने मुझे बोला तूने लूडो खेल के लंदन चला गया. मैंने बोला हाँ. तो तू भी करके दिखा फिर.
Wow. Okay. What about you, Nitasha? चलो अब बताओ क्या what are the transphobic things that are thrown at you and how can one respond to them?
Well, I think the biggest thing is over here is the behavior that I've been facing for a very long time. When someone discovers that I'm a transgendered woman, I think it comes like this, that they behave very weirdly. It was much more larger before this time, before then 2022, because I think silent discrimination is the most worse than being verbal, because silent discrimination kills you within. Imagine you're going to a place and someone not being friendly with you. How will you work there? How will you exchange your working ideas with others? So imagine if you're working somewhere and you're a trans person and they are not friendly with you, you can't work. I have left companies like that.
It's like तुमने job तो दे दी पर तुमने वो environment ही नहीं दिया इसमें
Environment,
काम
yeah.
कर पाए.
So you're fighting every day, like why the hell am I going to that job? If you're not enjoying that job, if you're not mixing with the rest of the people, you will never enjoy that job.
So what we call it is that you are creating a bubble, but you are not integrating.
क्यों वहाँ पे
And,
भी
yeah.
alienated ही
तुमने
हैं.
जबरदस्ती एक H2O में एक bubble तो डाल दिया, but it couldn't mix.
Yeah.
And I think that these are created by the people around.
Of course,
right?
of course.
Because that is where it starts. Otherwise, how will they know? Again, they need to understand, they need to read, they need to expect being more.
But what are some transphobic things that you would want to respond to? कुछ statements ऐसी हमें बताओ.
Well, to be very honest, I've been like, go to hell. I don't give a shit. It's your fucking problem. I'm visible and active here, so I don't give whatever.
Nitasha's
let's-
responses are like, go to hell.
Yeah, I've done that because I'm not going to sit because there are certain people who ask me, can you explain me all this and that, and I'm like, darling, of course I'm more than happy to explain. Go online, understand. If you do not understand, let's research, but not on the first go, right? I mean, how will I be talking about biological things in first go? Did you have a surgery? How does it feel? Do you feel anything? Or do something?
If we start
Because
beeping,
I'm
we'll have to beep a lot that we've said. But that's absolutely okay. This episode has been, I think, eye-opening, even for me. And I really hope that both of you also enjoyed being here and talking about this. So before ending the podcast, I want to ask you one final question. And then I promise both of you can go. I've taken too much of your time.
That's my word.
Define the modern gentleman in one word. And looks like Nitasha has
it.
already...
Unbiased.
Unbiased.
Yes.
अब explain भी करना है.
Men should be not putting, things, standards for anything. Be, when you're passing judgments, do it for everyone or don't do anyone. Simple and clear.
I would say fluid. I mean, try to be more accommodative in the environment and not look for people who are like you.
And adapt.
And adapt. I think it would make your life easier, because if you look at someone, make an image in your mind, you are creating a baggage. Your journey is becoming difficult, not mine.
That's pretty interesting. Thank you so much, both of you, for giving this your time. I know हमने बहुत लंबा खींच दिया ये वाला podcast, but it was important. I think these were all very important conversations. And I can't wait to read the comments on this one because I'm sure हम लोगों को भी काफ़ी चीज़ें सीखने को मिलेंगी इससे.
हाँ, मतलब गाली भी पड़ेगा, but ठीक है.
But I mean, yeah, पड़ेगी गाली तो शायद पड़ेगी. But thank you again. Thank you so much. And this is Ankush Bahuguna signing off from yet another episode of the Gentleman Show by the Man Company. मैं बोल के थक गया हूँ, बट हमें फीडबैक देना सोशल मीडिया पे @Ankush Bahuguna @The Man Company. You know the drill. I'll see you next time.